Now, this is one thing I was absolutely desperate to talk about because it gives just such a beautiful insight into the way the government is actually run. Basically, where they purposefully make you afraid, they purposefully do things to fuck with you so that they can get you to do certain things that they want you to do and all that stuff. Like, this just it just sums it up brilliantly. I haven't read this article, maybe it won't cover it, but as you know, Matt Hancock's leaked trove of WhatsApp messages at some of the key exchanges. So basically, someone was writing a book on the COVID epidemic, and they got Matt Hancock, who was health secretary at the time, he just handed over all of his WhatsApp messages, like all of them, to this like third party person who went through them for the purpose of writing the book and then kind of realized, hold on, is this how the government is run? Good goddamn, and then leaked them all publicly and just to that person, just, thank you very, very much. Oh, I love it when we see how they act when they think we are never going to see it. The former health secretary's handling of the COVID pandemic faces fresh scrutiny after an investigation based on leaked WhatsApp messages alleges he rejected testing advice on care homes. So that wasn't all he done. That wasn't all he done. Matt Hancock's handling of the COVID pandemic has come under fresh scrutiny following a leaked treasure trove of more than 100,000 WhatsApp messages. An investigation by the Daily Telegraph alleges the former health secretary rejected testing advice on care homes and expressed concerns that this could get in the way of meeting his targets. That's not the concern here, though. There's more. There's more. The MP strongly denied the distorted account, with a spokesman alleging the conversations leaked by journalist Isabel Oakeshott after she worked on his Pandemic Diaries memoir have been spun to fit an anti-lockdown agenda. They've been spun to fit an anti-lockdown agenda? Why? Why? I wonder what caused that, Matt. When you were saying things in the chat like, "Oh, I can't wait for the what was it?" He says, "We need a new variant to frighten people" and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it was something along those lines. I may be, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something along those lines. We need to make people intentionally scared so that they will do what I want them to do. Welcome to government. Former Chancellor George Osborne and Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg are also the subject of some of the messages. Here, Sky News looks at the key exchanges that reportedly took place. Hancock says that hair comb testing muddies the waters. The Telegraph's investigation claims Chief Medical Officer Professor Sir Chris Whitty told the then Health Secretary in April 2020 there should be testing for all going into care homes. Mr Hancock described it as obviously a good positive step, but the messages suggest he ultimately rejected the guidance, telling an aide the move just muddies the waters. According to the investigation, he said, "Tell me if I'm wrong, but I would rather leave it out and just commit to test and isolate all going into care from hospital. I do not think the community commitment adds anything and it muddies the waters." However, a source close to Mr Hancock said the Telegraph intentionally excluded reference to a meeting with the testing team from the WhatsApp. This is critical, the source added, because Matt was supportive of Chris Whitty's advice, held a meeting on its deliverability, told it wasn't deliverable, and insisted on testing all those who came from hospitals. The Telegraph have been informed that their headline is wrong, and Matt is considering all options available to him. I broke NDA, but it wasn't personal. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Mr Hancock said it is outrageous that this distorted account of the pandemic is being pushed with partial leaks, spun to fit an anti-lockdown agenda, which would have cost hundreds of thousands of lives if followed. What the messages do show is a lot of people working hard to save lives. Really, would hundreds of thousands of lives been lost? Because here's the weird thing. We've opened back up completely and COVID's still here. Why is everybody not dropping dead on the street? Where are the big piles of corpses everywhere like we were told? Where are they? Yeah, but there's still like loads and loads of people getting infected because they're vaccinated. It's actually the vaccinated who are getting infected the most. I'm just saying. They also seem to not be able to run for 15 seconds without having a heart attack. Mr. I mean, I saw that on Twitter somewhere. Probably not true. You should maybe Google it and do your own research. Mr. Hancock also expressed concerns that expanding care home testing could get in the way of the 100,000 daily test target he wanted to hit, the investigation said. On the 2nd of April, the then Cabinet Minister put his reputation on the line with a pledge to significantly increase testing by the end of the month, as the UK lagged behind Europe in capacity. Those eligible for the test initially included the general public and NHS staff, and when advised to widen access to include... Right, this is boring stuff. Where's the good stuff? Hancock texts George Osborne for help as he struggled to meet his target, leaked messages, so former Tory Chancellor, blah, blah, blah. I need to find the fucking... Ob's good news about spread of the virus, but hard for my target. The thousands of spare testing slots. Jeez, oh. I need to hit my targets. Miss Hancock later added, I want to hit my target. That's not what matters here, son. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You know, if only like politicians were as concerned with hitting other targets, you know, like poverty and stuff like that. Or the NHS. I mean, it'd be nice if the NHS could hit any of its targets. It'd be good if it could hit any of them. That'd be wonderful. Let me see. Where's the good stuff? Oh, here we go. Hancock told ministers to get heavy with police to enforce the lockdown. The then Health Secretary is also reported to have said in late August 2020 that we are going to have to get heavy with police when asked who is enforcing lockdown restrictions. We're going to have to get heavy. We're going to get the boots out there. See that little 6-year-old on the swings? Get the fucking truncheons out, man, and break her legs. She's not allowed to do that. The state hath decreed. The Emperor protects. The latest claim looks at an alleged conversation which reportedly first took place in late August 2020 between Simon Case, then a permanent secretary at the Cabinet Office, and Mr. Hancock. Mr. Case had asked who actually is delivering enforcement. Mr. Hancock replied, I think we are going to have to get heavy with the police, prompting Mr. Case to point out that they were due to have a roundtable meeting with ministers and the cops. After another meeting in January 2021, which included Boris Johnson, Mr. Hancock messaged Mr. Case to say that the PM was in very good shape and the plod got their marching orders. What a wonderful way to put it. Unions accused of being arses and teachers being work shy. In May 2020, as teachers prepared for classrooms to reopen, the then Education Secretary Sir Gavin Williamson had messaged Mr. Hancock asking for help in securing personal protective equipment for schools. He said this was so staff could not use a lack of it as a reason not to open, according to the Telegraph. He added. All of them will, but some will just want to say they can't, so they have an excuse to avoid having to teach. What joys! I mean, if I was still going to get paid for staying off. It was a rather different view to the one he expressed in public that same month, praising teachers for going above and beyond the call of duty, adding, you have simply been outstanding and we're so grateful for what you've done. 5 months later, Mr. Hancock messaged Sir Gavin to congratulate him on his decision to delay A-level exams for a few weeks due to the virus. Mr. Hancock wrote, cracking announcement today, old boy. Yes, fuck their education. Fuck them. We need to worry about these sniffles. What a bunch of absolute arses the teaching unions are. Although, I mean, I would be shocked if this was Labour, but then again, it is the Tories. Sir Gavin responded, I know they really, really do just hate work. Don't we all? Mr. Hancock's reply was 2 laughing face emojis and a bullseye. Who uses emojis? I don't use emojis. I hate them. I can't stand emojis. I don't use them at all. Unless I'm being ironic and it helps with a joke. On Wednesday night, Mr. Williamson tweeted what he claimed were clarifications about his messages, saying it was certain unions, not teachers themselves, that he was criticising. Aye, all right. Building a centralised test and trace system, track and trace, that's what it was one of the biggest challenges for the government during the pandemic. The £37 billion service is widely seen as having failed in its main objective to reduce the spread of the virus and prevent further lockdowns after its launch on the 28th of May 2020. We were all telling you that from the start, but hey-ho, £37 billion right down the fucking drain. I mean, people said that The 44 billion that Musk bought Twitter for could have literally ended world hunger. Literally ended world hunger. If you could have slapped a little bit extra onto that, you could have ended world hunger. Instead, we got a system that did not work. Pardon. The lockdown files suggest then Prime Minister Boris Johnson was frustrated over its capacity after it got up and running. On the 4th of June, he appeared to message Mr Hancock saying, "It's all about testing, that's our Achilles heel. We can't deliver a sensible border policy or adequate track and trace." There, he was honest about it, track and trace, because we can't test enough. Did we go to the Germans for those kits that Angela Merkel was offering? What is wrong with us as a country that we can't fix this? It's because the government tried to do something. The government fucks up pretty much everything that it tries to do. That's how it works, right? It's like, for example, taxation. Taxation is when you give £100 to the government to get £6 worth of service. That's how it works. In another message, Mr. Johnson adds, "We have had months and months. I'm going quietly crackling about this. Blah, blah, blah. Hasta la vista, baby." I miss Boris. I thought his prime ministership was going to be a lot memeier. It was actually kind of pish. It was a bit shite. I thought it was going to be a lot memeier, but no. Mr. Hancock replied, "Don't go crackers. We have test capacity enough to do this. We now have the biggest testing capacity in Europe. The problem is the false negatives. So the medics are against releasing from self-isolation, whether for quarantine and TNT, with a negative test." Boris Johnson and senior advisors raised concerns about shielding. The files also appear to suggest Boris Johnson and the government's most senior advisors raised concerns about the shielding, but the guidance was kept in place despite reservations. According to The Telegraph, Sir Patrick Vallance, the chief scientific advisor, said in a WhatsApp in August 2020 that shielding had not been very easy or effective. I'm going through this. I want to find the dodgy stuff that he said. Oh, God. Damn it. It's not in here. But basically, right, it's going to be, it's literally 100,000 messages. It's far too much to go through, right? But here are the big key takeaways, right? I like having some kind of source in front of me to like show you so that it's not just coming out of my mouth, right? But again, just go and Google all this stuff, right? They were intentionally going to stoke fear. They were intentionally going to make everybody terrified in order to lock down and in order to take the vaccine, right? They proved it. Like, Matt Hancock was like, we need a new variant to make people afraid and stuff like that. Things like the track and trace, things like the vaccines and everything like that, they were talking about it and they knew that all the lockdowns, all this shit, it wasn't going to work. You even saw a wee bit earlier in the article where banning visits on care homes was inhumane and someone told Matt Hancock that and he did it anyway. And he was basically, it was the way they were talking to each other as if we were the stupid little plebs that had to be misled. What can we say to these people? It didn't matter if it was true or not. What can we say to them that will get them to do what we want? And I think that these messages are just such a fantastic, phenomenal insight into how government actually works. They won't. Sometimes they'll try and present arguments to you for why you should do what they're telling you to do. And if you turn around and examine them and go, well, those reasons are stupid, no, I'm not going to do that, they'll then try and scare you into it. And if they can't scare you into it, then they will, to quote Matt Hancock, give the police their marching orders. Right? And I just think it's an amazing insight into the way government actually works. Sometimes people think that it's like deep, dark, mysterious, like people and all that type of stuff. But see, to be honest, they're people just like you or me, right? Some of them are smart and some of them are really, really stupid, right? And I love it when a really stupid one gets into the club because they're the ones that always slip up and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna hand 100,000 private government messages to this person that's writing a book on me. Haha. Yeah, dumb, absolutely dumb, and they knew none of it would work. They knew none of the things would work, and they were warned, here, this is inhumane, hey, this doesn't work, hey, this is huge cost to the taxpayer, nothing's working, we're not hitting any of our targets, and they did it anyway, because who gives a shit? And the entire time while we were all locked down and you weren't able to go and see your grandmother and your grandfather die, they had to die on their own because you couldn't go in and see them, the entire time Matt Hancock was having a secret affair. Must be nice being in government.